Today we will be showing you how to create a picture frame for that special lady in your life, your mom. We will be using the Arrow hanger at Cal Poly to make the frame. To use the tools and equipment in the hanger, you need at least a red tag. The steps for this project will assume that you have experience working with the tools in the hanger and are relatively knowledgeable in using them. For this project, you will need a packet of nails, 12 by 6 by 3/16 inch birch plywood, and two 3/4 by 3/4 by 24 inch dowels. You can find these materials at the local Home Depot. Some additional materials for putting the finishing touch on your frame include spray paint, Elmer's glue, and a 5 by 7 inch picture. Before beginning, you will need to check into the hanger. To begin, you will need to use the miter saw to cut 45-degree angles on both ends of both dowels. To do this, set the miter saw so it will cut the wood at a 45-degree angle. After cutting the ends at 45-degree angles, you will need to make some measurements. Begin by measuring 8.5 inches from each end of the first dowel. Mark across the whole width. Then, measure and mark 6.5 inches from each end of the second dowel. Be sure to mark across the whole width. Once you have marked the dowels, use the miter saw to cut them to their lengths. Cut a little bit outside of the line you made. You will sand it down later. Use a digital caliper to determine how much you will need to sand off the edge. The caliper will tell you how long each piece is. You'll need to sand the longer ones down to 8.5 inches and the shorter ones down to 6.5 inches. Get as close to the measurements as you can. Use the belt sander to sand down the edges of the dowels. Make sure to sand it on the face of the angled cut so the angle will not change. Also, according to your measurements, using the digital caliper, sanding down to the lines you drew should be pretty accurate. So, when sanding, you can try to get close to the lines. Note that you do need a yellow tag to operate the mills, but this step can be done with a table saw and red tag. Ask a shop tech to help you if you need to use the table saw. Set up the mill to cut grooves into the dowels. Use parallel bars to hold up the dowel. You'll need to use a 3/16 end mill. Make sure to set the RPMs to 2400. You will need to mill the grooves in the middle of each piece and make it so each groove is a 1/4 inch deep. The center of the wood is at 0.375 inches.
So when you're doing this, it's the same thing as
Now, measure and mark the plywood so that it is 5.5 by 7.5 inches. Use the table saw to cut along the measurements you made. You will probably need to lower the saw to cut the wood, so make sure to check. Remember to use the pusher. Try to fit the plywood into the grooves. If it doesn't fit, use sandpaper to sand the faces of the plywood until it can fit into the grooves. Use a plastic mallet to fit all of the pieces together. It may take a little bit to get all of the pieces positioned correctly, so keep adjusting the pieces with the mallet until they all fit together. Use a clamp on the long sides of the frame to keep it from moving when you hammer the nails into the wood. Make sure to keep the pieces aligned when you clamp it. You will need to use nails to keep the frame together. Use the hammer to hit the nails into the corners of the frame. Use 2 nails per joint to make sure it is properly held together. There may be some cracks in the corners of your frame, but an easy solution is to fill the cracks with Elmer's glue. You can use the belt sander to round out the edges of the frame if needed. This is optional, and the process of rounding the edges is not included in the video. You can spray paint your frame any color you would like. Josh is planning on giving this frame to his mom for Mother's Day, so he used her favorite color for the frame, blue. Spray paint one side of the frame with a single coat. Wait for it to dry, and then coat the edges, sides, and the reverse side of the frame. Once the frame is dry, you can print out a 5x7 inch photo to put inside the frame. Use double-sided tape to adhere the picture to the frame. Thank you for watching our video on how to build a picture frame. We hope you enjoy your new frame.